were ushered into an interrogation room. Let's just say he had no sense of humor. I could be spending the rest of my days in a Central African prison. Some who may know my life story and past history might recall that I used to do missionary and philanthropy work in Central Africa, West Africa, and East Africa. One of the places that I was in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I was in the province of South Kivu. And this was at a very tense time in that country's history because they were about to have their first ever presidential election. And, oh God, I'd say it's 2005, 2006, I can't remember offhand. But being a foreign person and doing missionary work, I had to check in with the various officials to let them know that I was there. And I was in the province of South Kivu, and we were in the city of Uvira, which is where a lot of rail lines, transportation, docks on Lake Victoria, it was a real important area. So they were closely monitoring it to make sure that nobody was coming in to cause trouble for the election, because there was opposition parties and there was this, there was that. So anyhow, I go in, like I had been every place else before when I went into these cities and everything, and I would meet the governor or the lieutenant governor, and I'd meet the security minister, and there would be a lot of glad handing and handshakes and pictures and go away. Okay, this was a little different. We did meet with the deputy security minister for that particular area, and let's just say he had no sense of humor. This was a little different because we weren't ushered into an office, we were ushered into an interrogation room. And I was sitting in a wooden chair, a little ricketier than the one I'm in now, in a room that had just a couple of windows way up by the ceiling. And I'm sitting over a drain, and there are two guards standing outside with AK-47s. I had one standing behind me. They took away our cell phones, they took away our passports, and this deputy minister did not speak English, and I did not speak French. And the person I was with spoke a little bit. We did have a translator provided, and basically the guy wanted to know what I was doing there. Why are you here? Who do you work for? You're here to cause trouble. You're here to do this. You're here to do... It was pretty harrowing. He was convinced that since I was a clergyman, a bishop, and an American, I had to be either working for Pope Benedict or President Bush. And I'm trying to explain, I don't have any involvement with either of them because I'm not Roman Catholic, I'm not a Republican, and he wasn't buying it. And it went round and round, and we were there for quite a while, till he finally realizes that I'm answering questions, and I'm answering as honestly and truthfully as I can, but I realized that if he doesn't believe me, I could be spending the rest of my days in a Central African prison. And we went through a few harrowing moments before I was finally turned loose, simply because they didn't want me around anymore. That's a story for another time, which I will usually share privately. But it was kind of interesting. Anyway, when I've written some of my spy novels, and I realize that when I go into certain places, I have to keep looking over my shoulder. And I have to be careful of what I say, what I do, how I behave, where I go, that type of thing. I draw on a lot of that for some of my characters in my mysteries and in my spy novels. Sometimes you can draw on really, really pleasant. Sometimes you draw on some that are not so pleasant. And sometimes, especially when a part of you has decided it's time to be healed, you can draw on very unpleasant. So, while life may imitate art, sometimes art has to imitate life.